In our sixth session, we're diving headfirst into the world of finance. Marco Argenti of Goldman Sachs will talk with George Mathew of Insight Partners about the future of finance in this new AI-powered world in this fireside chat, Banking on AI.
Hello, how
Thank
are you?
you so much for coming and joining us.
George.
Pleasure to see you.
Yeah.
We have a lot to talk about today.
Great.
Let's start with the fun stuff. If we think about your journey, first and foremost, tell us a little bit about what got you into the position of CIO at Goldman Sachs.
So I don't come from the world of finance, so I was parachuted into the world of finance 4 years ago. All my life has been in technology. I'm still in a technology role, of course. So I changed kind of domain, but I never really changed discipline in a way. At the time where I was recruited into Goldman, I was at Amazon Web Services, running a number of areas such as IoT and serverless and messaging and like a good chunk of the AWS set of services. And then, I've been started as a developer, and then I had my own startup, and then I went to work in the mobile side at Nokia, and then I ended up cloud. And then I was kind of wondering, what is the next revolution? I've been seeing essentially the birth of the internet. I'm old enough that I remember pre-internet and working on pre-internet, and then pre-mobile, and then pre-cloud, and then I kind of had the luxury of working in market leaders on each of them. I think to me the question was really about the changing role of technology within organizations, okay? And there used to be technology companies and there used to be consumers of technologies in a way, right? And so providers and consumers of technology, which it kind of doesn't make sense today anymore. It would be like saying, that there's companies that work with data and companies that don't. And of course, everybody works with data. It would be like companies that are digital and companies that are non-digital. Who's not digital today? Other than, if you're running, I don't know, like a vinyl record store.
Even they might be digital.
Even they might be digital, and and in fact, for those of you who are audiophiles, there was a big scandal a couple of years ago about this, purely analog vinyl producer that ended up actually revealing that they were using digital files as the master. Okay, so
of course,
essentially like print analog on a digital source. Anyway.
And why wouldn't you, right? It's way easier to have it.
It's easier, but well.
But yeah, it wasn't authentic.
Easier, but it would be. There's a little bit of purity there. It would be like taking boxed wine and bottling it.
Yes.
If you pardon I'm Italian, so I kind of.
Italians can get away with saying that.
There's a line that you don't want to cross.
Oh, yes.
Right? So the role of technology, and really, I was in the last couple of years when I was running IoT, Internet of Things. At that time, there were like conferences like this about IoT. And it was kind of the buzzword, Internet of Everything and all that. But the idea was really to kind of push digitization and automation and, like the internet, really to the edge of the world, into the small things, into the homes, into, equipment. And then I did this massive project, my team really did this massive transformation project for Volkswagen Group, which was really aiming to digitize and automate 150 factories and 1,500 suppliers and rethinking the supply chain. And that made me realize that at the end of the day, if a company doesn't have technology capabilities today, they will most likely not be able to be competitive. There is only a certain extent of technology that you can buy, but a lot of that you need to actually internalize and own. And today, if you fast forward, think about car companies today are essentially software companies, and and chip manufacturers are actually software companies. Like someone would argue if NVIDIA is a software company or a hardware company. And so my thinking was, okay, I actually instead of being the person that sells technology to others that want to transform, what if I try to transform from within? And so this seemed to be an opportunity. And why financial services? Well, because in the age of digital transformation, etc., I mean, if speed matters, not being linked or not being slowed down by physics, such as you don't have to bend metal, you don't have to raise high temperatures. There's stuff that is so non-digital that of course will slow you down. Finance is a fully digital business. It's fast, it's global, and you can see literally advances in real time. Or when you deploy something, there are algorithms that essentially act at massive scale in really defined and short time frames. And so I think what attracted me to this world was the fact that A, it's fast, B, is fully digital, C, is incredibly data rich and data driven, and I didn't expect AI to just land on us.
We'll talk about that in a little bit.
So that was...
Is Goldman a software company?
No, Goldman is a bank and is a financial institution, but like every other company, we also need to be mastering software and technology as well and as good as any technology company. And that's what I tell every CEO that I meet. I said, the days where there was a discount factor in the quality of your tech people because you're not a tech company are gone.
That's right, yeah.
They are gone. Today, your bar, when you hire, needs to be the same bar of the best of the technology company.
Well, you talk a little bit about that when you think about Goldman from a fit-for-purpose standpoint,
Yeah.
in particular your team. So tell the audience what that means when you think about fit-for-purpose. And I have a Goldman story that I can tell that a lot of people don't know about, but we'll wait for that in a second.
So, the journey was like a journey of cultural transformation. When you start to push, this kind of, technology agenda that becomes transformational for the company. So one of the ways that we tried to change the culture was, to bring technology closer to the business and business closer to technology. And really trying to kind of, realize that it's really two parts of one, which is what we do for our clients and which is really the business purpose. And so this tenet of build with purpose is something that we're really living and breathing with developers. And practically that translates into applying a little bit of the Amazon method that we introduced, which is using the working backwards from the customer, from the client methodology. So now all the major projects are actually spec'd out with working backwards documents, with narratives, with PR and FAQs. We do the whole gamut, and those drive the conversation between the business and the technology in a way that has never happened before. And then we do also the kind of formerly unnatural thing of sitting at the beginning of a meeting and actually reading the memo, which is something that I like because brings everybody on the same page. If you just ask, have everybody read the briefing material? And everybody's going to say, of course I did. And you never ask, under which conditions did you actually read that? Was it last night at 1 a.m., right before you went to sleep, and did you just scan it after a big dinner? Is that how you read it? And then you just forget about it. So the point is, it's an equalizer for the conversation so that the business people and technology people are really coming together on the same page. So I think the building with purpose is that every single developer in the company should actually be able to draw an OKR sort of a line towards a business objective and then get measured on that.
How does the AI journey in specific really drive either a greater degree of built for purpose, or is it just more of the same in software for Goldman?
I think there is immediately like a bifurcation when we started to talk about AI, which is sort of the sustaining part and the disruptive part. And the sustaining part is a little bit of doing more of the same, but actually doing it faster, more efficiently, with less errors. And so we started a number of initiatives, including a rollout of Copilot, which we find obviously extremely, our data reads, whatever, depending on the seniority of the person, but a 20 to 40% efficiency gain, which is way beyond our expectations. And then, of course, the massive amount of information that we need to process, for example, to summarize earnings, to try to search through public filings. We really like this pattern that, I kind of, like somehow call like talk with your data or chat with your data, in which you're giving essentially the pattern of data source, get vectorized, gets accessed by, a plugin, and gets processed on the input and on the output by a large model, so that the large model actually knows what to actually ask for and look for, and then knows how to present it back to the client. And so that has an applicability. We actually started to roll out that and it's been a tremendous help. It's also the co-pilot for non-technologists in a way.
So what you just described there is literally the LLM ops toolchain, right? Just the process of being able to build a large language model and in the context of a domain specific.
And I think that is kind of the less unknown part. But then, what I always tell everyone, including the board, when we talk to them, is we need to be careful not to be sucked into the productivity gains only. Because now there is an appetite for quick returns, okay? But if this is as big as we think it is.
It is big.
Yeah, it looks like.
It does.
And so, it looks like. But if it is as big as we think it is, or bigger, like, I said something like that was quoted, which is like, you need to think big before an AI thinks bigger than you. Because at the end of the day, some people that really know how to use it and will come up with new ways of doing business. What if there is a better way to, for example, manage your assets, or what if there is a better way to direct your resources, or what if there is a way to reach straight through processing rates when you trade that are better than anybody else in the market? What if you can go like T+0 in a way and basically like do instant things that you can do before? What if you rethink the relationship business? What if a banker wakes up and they gets talking points to a client because something just happened, and an LLM has noticed that signal correlates with what's relevant for that client given past meetings and their actions? And what if he suggests to you, hey, George, call Marco because he has this particular set of investments, and these are the things that happen that might resonate with you. I mean, that kind of, in a way, a relationship co-pilot, if you will, would be disruptive. Because today, let's face it, when we meet people, maybe out of 10 meetings, there is 3 or 4 that are really content-rich, and the rest is very relationship-based. What if 9 out of 10 were incredibly insightful? And so all of a sudden, like, you need to benchmark yourself with someone that, maybe wasn't as good as you before, maybe with the relationship side of things, but now with the use of AI, can actually be more effective.
So you're hinting at something here, and I want to sort of push a little bit more on it. What was the most unexpected thing you saw from an AI system within the deployment of either a front office, back office, middle office capability within?
Well, I tell you that this is something that we haven't talked about too much, but
it's 200 of our closest friends here and 2,500 online. So let's talk a little more.
What really kind of surprises and fascinates me is how AI could actually somehow rewire the way you run process and the way you run an organization. And I'll try to be more explicit. So obviously, our industry is very regulated and is very process-driven, and and also we have a lot of cyclical businesses. For example, you have during the day there is market close, there is market open. During the day, during the month, there is of course closing, and there is earnings season, and there is a lot of events, and so it's extremely spiky and it's extremely complex. And processes generally in every company are kind of, in a way, rigid. It's difficult to change processes the same speed as the world changes around you. And so we thought, what if you could somehow do what was done for infrastructure, which was equally rigid, or for networking, which was even more rigid, which was to virtualize it into infrastructure as software or network as software. What if you could do enterprise as software? Meaning you're describing your processes in a way that can be understood by a machine, And what if an AI could actually rewire your processes depending on the needs and basically depending on the prompt that comes from the outside? So we did the following with an interesting proof of concept. We took our workflow system that we use for, like a variety of our, sort of our big state machine in a way, for a variety of step. And we actually taught an AI, instead of language like Python or language like Java, we taught them process language.
Amazing.
And so we started to prompt something like, can you devise a process, for example, I'm just going to use a random example, for, like expense report. And then all of a sudden, we saw the AI coming up with a bunch of blocks, which, submit this, get it to approval. And then we were prompting, like, I need a double approval for payments above $1,000. And then, boom, it was coming out with that, and it was writing it in a process language. And that process language could actually be executed on. And so this idea of AI is actually looking at observing your organization and rewiring it in businesses that are extremely kind of, in a way, either cyclical or that need to follow spikes during, changing conditions around you. I think could actually something that could give tremendous advantage, because at that point you reach a level of agility that you probably never seen before.
Amazing. Okay, lightning round. We have a few things I want to hit here. There's a lot of founders on the stage in this audience right now. And the story that I want to tell about Goldman was when I was a plucky founder myself, about 10 years ago. I was in the data analytics space, and I went over to visit one of your former partners who ran all of applications, John Weir. He's retired now, I think. And I was giving him the big pitch on what we were capable of doing. And at the end of it, John kind of pulled me aside. He's like, I can build all of this myself. And so the reason I mentioned that is, if you're a founder who's coming in and getting themselves enterprise ready for delivering value to Goldman, what should you do? What should you be thinking about? How should you sort of?
First of all, that's one of the things that I'm trying to change. Which
I
we
know.
don't build ourselves.
Goldman doesn't do that.
We famously built an email client, thinking that we could be the only one that could build it. Right?
In fairness, Goldman did end up using quite a bit of my last company and helped us go public. So
No, I understand. That's good. It's good to hear.
Yeah.
I think the best advice is to first of all, to try to fit into the things that understand what is not differentiating for us, okay? Like, we do a lot of things that have already been sold, but they may be differentiating for you, but basically something that is not really our core business, is not really our core competency, and try to help us, really kind of, like, in a way, remove the undifferentiated heavy lifting that we need to do, like, in terms of some technologies that are just, something that is not our core competency. So fitting on our strengths and understanding our strengths and weaknesses is always really good. Understanding what we don't do well and not be afraid to say that. And the second one is, obviously, for every bank, security and compliance are such a big deal that I see a lot of startups coming to us with, I'll tell you a concrete example. 9 out of 10, I'm almost like expecting the time where the question comes up. They show this beautiful SaaS, and then give us all your data, we're going to give you these beautiful things in return. And I'm like, great. And I'm like, okay, tell me about tenant isolation. And by the way, what's your operator access story? Who can actually SSH into your boxes and make changes or see the data or do a memory dump? And they're like, I'll get back to you. And so, and so patterns such as, like the key management system or KMSs of the world, where we have a hardware security model, we hold the key, we have double encryption, we have break glass procedures, all that stuff. You need to know it, otherwise you would simply not work with companies that are kind of in this kind of space. And those are also things that, by the way, once you do that, it kind of opens up the upper part of the layer, which is then you can start selling a bunch of applications around it. But having the data and infrastructure and security foundation incredibly solid, I think is really kind of the step number one.
Incredible. Well, I could go forever, but I won't because we're going to hold everyone off for lunch. So
that's great.
Marco, thank you again.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for everything you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Marco and George.